Okay, good afternoon, members. You are very welcome to February's Governance and Strategic Planning Committee. And I'm going to head straight over to our Chief Executive to take members' attendance and apologies.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. To all members of the Governance and Strategic Planning Committee, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and here in the Council Chamber, Tuesday the 4th of February at 4 o'clock. Alderman Cook.
Online, John.
Alderman Hussey. Alderman Wilkinson.
Hi, John.
Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Sandra Duffy.
Sure.
Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Hart.
Gunshot.
Councillor
Online.
Heaney.
Apologies.
Councillor Jackson.
Gunshot.
Councillor McDade.
Here.
Councillor McGinley. Apologies received. Councillor Mooney. Councillor O'Farrell. And Councillor Tierney. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. John, I'm moving on now to the broadcasting statement. I'd like to remind everyone physically present at this meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded they only have their cameras and mics on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council website. Members, moving on to declarations of members' interest. Is there any declarations? Councillor McDade?
Thank you, Chair. Just confidential, just declaration of interest for work at the University of Ulster. Thank you.
Any other declarations of interest? Members and officers, I just want to note a potential declaration of interest in relation to item 10, membership of organisations and associations. I am a member of a number of those organisations, namely NILGA Executive Board on behalf of this council. Any appointments are made on behalf of council, but I just want to put on the record. I don't know. I will seek advice in relation to whether it's a declaration of interest is necessary, but at this stage, just point that out. Alderman Hussey.
Same as yourself, Chair. NILGA, NAC and the SOM advisory.
Okay, that's noted, and I'm going to move on now to chairperson's business, and I have only one item of chair's business myself. I haven't been contacted by any member of the committee, and it's just wanted to bring members' attention to the UNICEF child rights briefing that's due to be held on the 20th of February at 6 p.m. in this chamber. And just encourage as many members as possible to attend. I know that an email has been sent to that effect this afternoon, so it's just to remind members of that and draw members' attention to that and the importance of attendance at that briefing. So moving on to the matters arising from the open minutes of the Governance and Strategic Planning Committee held on this Tuesday, the 7th of January, pages 3 to 18. Any matters arising? Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. Just from the deputation, I had asked us for an update on the Twinning with Bethlehem. and it was to be come back into this month's papers, and I just noticed it wasn't there, so just could get an update if it'll be coming through next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I can't give you a comprehensive update, but I do know that the Mayor has a meeting in her diary with council officers to meet with the Mayor of Bethlehem in the coming weeks through a meeting this morning that was scheduled. It had been one that has been rescheduled a number of times, the issue being on the Bethlehem side, not on the Strabane side. So following that meeting, I think there would be an opportunity to bring a further update.
Okay, thank you. We'll look forward to that paper. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And just on the same item, I just wanted to comment on the positive events that we held in the city over the course of the last weekend as part of the Bloody Sunday commemoration. We had the Palestinian Youth Movement here in the city, and the Bloody Sunday lecture on Friday night was particularly Nadia Tansen, who gave an absolutely powerful testimony of the solidarity movement, the youth solidarity movement in terms of Palestine, and particularly around giving people an update on the current ceasefire, phase 1 of it, where things are at and where their hopes and aspirations lie for phase 2 and phase 3. Also highlighting a lot of the concerns that people have in relation to how it's going to progress, but particularly then in how we can play our part as well, in skills, raising money and bearing witness, all practical things that we can be doing as a population in terms of solidarity. So it was good to see all those events take place across the weekend, including the anti-racism charter that was also hosted on Saturday afternoon. A really positive weekend of events in terms of international solidarity. So, and continuing the theme of the Bloody Sunday Trust, one word, one struggle. So just wanted to commend the Bloody Sunday Trust and the Palestinian Youth Movement for all the events over the course of the weekend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Hart.
GSP 12/25 scheme of allowances. At the previous GSP meeting, Councillor Sandra Duffy reiterated Sinn Féin's stance on the award of pay rises to councillors, something that we are against. However, agreed to defer to full council so all members could speak on the matter. Just to note, we're disappointed that at that full council meeting, after the Sinn Féin team left the chamber, the remaining members decided to give themselves a pay rise. So we just wanted to put that on record from Sinn Féin perspectives. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Farrell on this.
Just briefly on that, Chair, and thanks for allowing me on. In terms of councillor pay, and I didn't think we were going to have a debate on it here today, but I note Councillor Hart's comments around this. It should be noted that during full council, the Sinn Féin team left for their own reasons, which I fully understand. Chair, you came on to request an adjournment, and I would also like it noted that SLP supported that call for an adjournment. We didn't think that it was right that Sinn Féin were not allowed to say in full council on the matter of councillor pay. We supported that, others didn't, but we respected the democratic decision of this council and stayed to complete the meeting. So I'd just like that noted. And I do think it is right the councillors right across the north receive the same remuneration. I think it's unfair the councillors in Derry and Strabane do not receive the same as their counterparts in every other council across across the north. So I'd just like that noted. But we supported the adjournment, the call for adjournment, because it was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think Councillor Hart might have touched the nerve. Councillor Donnelly.
Good Chair. I think it's unfair to put the emphasis on who voted or who didn't vote for an adjournment. Sinn Féin took the option and the decision to walk out, and they're entitled to do that. they're also entitled to come back in and take part in the rest of the discussion. I voted against the adjournment, but it wasn't for we already voted for a pay rise or anything like that. So I think that the focus can't be on who voted or who didn't vote for an adjournment. Sinn Féin took a decision. They'll stand over that decision, but they knew there was business happening, you know, and whether you voted for the adjournment or not, in my opinion, is not the issue. Thank you.
No, and I appreciate the point, Councillor Donnelly, and I want to try and avoid a debate in relation to the issue. I think the point that Councillor Hart had raised was this item was deferred to allow, at the last meeting of this committee, to allow input from everyone, and that didn't happen. So regardless of, and I think the point has been well made and noted, and it was a decision of this committee. They deferred the full council, for that reason and that reason alone. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. I don't know if anybody heard the Minister this morning on radio, but I have to say it was very welcome what he had to say, in that MPs, their allowance or salary is determined by an independent body. MLAs is the same. It's only at this level of local government that you have this issue where there is leverage within local government not to accept allowances that are recommended independently. The Minister seemed determined that following the review of roles and responsibilities, it would be his intention that that would not be the case going forward, that the recommendation would be made and that would be it. There would be no issue of councillors voting for or against whatever might come forward from independent recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other items or matters arising? No. None online. So I'm moving on, members, to the Q3 financial outturn report. And I'll pass over to Alfie.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the report is to approve our 9-month financial outturn and position at 31st of December. Table 2.1 of the report provides a reminder for you of the 77.69 million budget that was agreed back in February 24 as part of the 24-25 rates process, and it's obviously important that you're provided with regular financial updates in relation to performance against that, in particular to identify any financial issues or pressures. So members, in that regard, there's a detailed outturn report in the appendix in the appendix 1 to the report, and there's a high-level summary of that set out in section 3.1 of the report, and you will note that our outturn reported at this point is 161k ahead of target at month 9, and that represents 911k less 750k which we've retained towards our reserves reduction strategy, which you'll be aware has been considered actively through the ongoing 25-26 rates discussions. So members, in terms of the key areas of saving, firstly, income is 1.6 million ahead of budget. The key components of that, 763k relates to bank and monetary market fund interest, 440k relates to leisure, 175k relates to Tower Museum and Guildhall, 89k in relation to building control and planning, and 64k in relation to environmental health. So it's obviously a positive message to see the continued recovery in our income levels. Secondly, members, utility costs remain behind budget. You'll recall in the rates process that they were incredibly difficult to forecast for the year ahead. So I suppose the message is that we did make adequate budgetary provision, and you'll be aware that we've relooked at that as part of the current year's rates process to bring those budgets to current levels. Thirdly, members, we have savings of just over 500k across a combination of most of our services, and that's in relation to overhead expenditure, travel and vacancy control. In terms of the key service pressures to note, One is 648K, relates to salaries and wages pressures within our key core statutory service areas, cemetery, street cleansing and waste services due to service pressures and demands in those services. And you will be aware that additional monies have been included within the current year rates proposals to address those pressures. The second key pressure relates to maintenance provision, whereby 725K has been earmarked for a number of pressures within leisure and community services. Those looking at lighting levels within our leisure centres, gym equipment replacement, as well as repairs to a number of community centres. Each one of those expenditure areas, members, will be subject to separate consideration and approval in due course once those have been fully scoped and costed. The final pressure, 750K, relates to reserves. You'll be aware that we fund 900K of our recurrent expenditure from our district fund, and that we have a plan in place to reduce that over time. And obviously, as part of the current year's rates process, we've been keen to avoid that having an impact on the rates. So we've set ourselves a target of 1 million surplus or savings to be achieved during the current financial year to enable that plan. So obviously, members, we have a remaining 250K target to achieve in Q4. So that means we obviously need to monitor budgets closely and avoid any significant unbudgeted commitments between now and year end. So members, just a couple of items that are in the report. They haven't resulted in a variance being reported, but they're obviously key financial considerations, so I'll just mention them. Rates income, LPS are currently forecasting a very small finalisation figure of 9,000. 245,000 relates to domestic housing growth. That's offset by a forecast 236K shortfall in relation to non-domestic rates. So in essence, what's happening there is any growth that we're having in the non-domestic sector has been offset by the impact of appeals. What the final outturn will be could be different, because it'll ultimately depend on whether Land and Property Services achieve their debt write-off forecasts within the year. So we'll await the forecast finalisation in April, May, but hopefully the position will improve. The second other issue, members, again, which we've looked at during the rates process, you'll obviously be aware of the major progress in relation to the airport funding. 3 million has been secured in the current year from DFA. The subsidy control process with CMA concluded positively on 24th of January. So the final step now that we're waiting in respect of the further 4 years of funding is the DFE casework approval, which we hopeful will happen in the current month. So members, we haven't reported any savings at this point in time in relation to the airport on that basis, because obviously they depend on the outcome of those discussions. You'll be aware that the recurrent savings which will be generated from the airport are obviously directed towards our approved capital financing strategy. So members, that's the key issues. And you'll be aware also that we obviously retain a contingency reserve for a number of risks and unknowns, and that has obviously been the subject of discussion through our rates process. So members, obviously positive position, but it's obviously important that control is exercised between now and year end to make sure that that is maintained. So the recommendation is you approve our Q3 outturn position and the associated considerations in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alfie. And what is another positive report of two indicated speakers at this stage, Councillor Duffy and then Alderman Hussey. Sandra.
Good morning, Chair, and Alfie, thank you for the report. And it is a really positive report, and it makes good reading right across the board. I mean, we are in a good place as a council at this point. Around the airport is on a good footing, and I want to put on record my thanks to yourself, Alfie, and the entire airport board for a lot of the work that they have done over the course of probably an intensive piece of work over the last number of months, but particularly them with working with the Minister for Economy and the Minister for Infrastructure in terms of getting those issues across the line around the business case and around everything there. So a really positive piece of work there. I think the whole report around our tourism receipts are up, our leisure income is up, Building control shows positive outcomes as well, which shows some confidence in the council area. I'm not going to say too much more because we are heading into striking the rate next week. And we do continue to have huge ambitions as a council area for what we want to achieve right across the council. But I think that moving into a rates process, we are in a good, positive position. And I thank yourself, Alfie, and the team for a lot of the work that you do throughout the year, ensuring that we are within budgets. I do understand that there are continuing demands and pressures, but we have made significant savings as well. So thank you to you and the team for the very positive report, and I'm more than happy to propose it today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Hussey.
Good, Chair, and I endorse a lot of what Councillor Duffy has said there. The issues of funding that doesn't have to go out anymore and can be redistributed for use within our own council area is extremely welcome. Councillor Duffy referred to their ambitions across the area, and as members in the chamber know, it's something that I have constantly expressed that we need to be doing to be ensuring that our electors across the council area are benefiting. And it's not always the big schemes that do that. It's the schemes in the community. Should it be a small local play park or whatever? And my understanding is that we're working towards that, and that's extremely welcome. I do have one query on the report. I was just seeking clarification, actually, and it's with regard to the rates income. And I'm prepared to second the report. It's just clarification on the rates income on the last paragraph. Significant risk of increased debt write-off with almost 3.92 million of rating debt, now older than 3 years. Council share 2.15 million. Accordingly, Council retains a provision of 2 million. So, you know, we have that backup if the debts are written off. So that is debt, rates debt that will not be recovered. Is that what we're being told? And because it's older than 3 years, it's just going to be written off. And if that is the case, I would have concerns about that they're not being followed up. It's a bit like the parking fines scenario that was highlighted publicly, whereby if you wait long enough, that you know your parking fine will just be written off. I would be a bit worried about that. So just if we could have clarification on that. Thank you, Chair.
Alfie.
Thanks, Chair. So I suppose it isn't rates debt that has been confirmed to be written off. Basically, what we're saying is once debt gets to 3 years, there's a higher risk of it being written off. So LPS are still going through their processes for collection of that, and we expect some of that to be collected because some of those debtors will be under payment plans and things like that. So I suppose it's just a high-level guide for myself, in that if debt's over 3 years old, it's in the territory of being more risky. So you know, it's an estimate at the end of the day of what sort of provision we need to keep, but all that debt won't be written off, nor have LPS confirmed to be written off. They write off a certain amount of debt every year when they've exhausted the process, so it's an estimated figure, but not an actual confirmed figure.
I think through you, Chair, I thank Alfie for that clarification. It is disappointing that there's some people, you know, who are not paying the rates in the way that the vast majority throughout our council area are, and we find ourselves in this situation, but it is what it is. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Alfie, for the report. And like the previous two speakers, this is very positive. And on behalf of the SDLP, would like to thank the entire team of council across every single department who've had a key focus on cost control and income maximisation over the last 3 quarters. So we're in a good position, but I've got a question about the reserve reduction strategy. So to date, we've managed to identify £750,000. We need to identify another £250,000 by year end. And there's a line in here about all outturn savings to be ring fenced and no new major unbudgeted commitments. And we agree with that approach. But I am conscious, and if there's members here from B and C, there's a specific ask from that committee about identifying in-year savings for community festivals. I understand there's going to be a paper coming to B and C next week. The considered view of the committee is we need to find more money to help more festivals. Is that going to be impacted by the position here, or do we think in-year savings can be identified at all?
Obviously, if that's been identified as a significant priority through B and C, it would be our intention that that can be captured from within the year. So we'll be planning on identifying as much of those savings as possible. When I refer to major new unbudgeted commitments, not if there's priorities, we need as officers to try and identify funding for those. So we'll certainly be looking at that as something we want to achieve in the last quarter.
Alderman Cook.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. And I would just like to be associated with Councillor Duffy and Fussie's remarks as well. Thanks to Elfie and the team for the hard work. It is a positive report. So yeah, if I could just be associated with their comments, and well done to Elfie and the team.
Okay, members, we have a recommendation that's been proposed by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Alderman Hussey. I'm not hearing any dissenting voices, so can I take that as unanimous? Yep. So moving on, and thanks Dave and the team for and everybody that was associated with efficiency savings throughout council. Moving on now to item 8, the hybrid working policy, and I'll pass over to Paula.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose, or the Council's hybrid working arrangements were introduced in October 2022 as a pilot, and it was agreed at that time to review the arrangements after 18 months. So the purpose of this report is to update members on the review and to seek members' approval on the updated hybrid working policy and guidance. So in terms of background, the hybrid working pilot policy was developed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The review analyses the hybrid working, balancing them with the advantages of office-based work to demonstrate the overall benefit of having flexible working options. The review was carried out in consultation with the recognised trade unions and included staff surveys and engagement with line managers. The overall feedback was predominantly positive, with most comments reflecting a favourable outlook on hybrid working. In terms of key issues, by recognising and addressing the benefits of both hybrid working and office-based work, Council can ensure that the hybrid working model continues to support the needs of the service alongside the diverse needs of its workforce. This approach not only enhances productivity and employee satisfaction, but also maintains a positive and productive work environment, ensuring the Council remains competitive in today's talent market. To continue to support teamwork, collaboration and employee well-being, it remains that those working in a hybrid arrangement are expected to spend approximately 60% of their working week in their normal workplace, or an equivalent proportion for part-time employees. So in terms of the policy, the main areas that have been updated or included are: firstly, managers are encouraged to explore hybrid working creatively, ensuring a range of options are available to staff. And again, the expected balance of attendance is in the region of 60% in the workplace, and that's important to maintain teamwork and employee well-being. It's also included that regular performance conversations, effective feedback are also take place to support hybrid working, and communication methods need to be tailored to suit all parties. And again, HR will provide training and guidelines with this. So again, you know, all employees are still required to meet the same standards regardless of work location and use collaboration tools to ensure effective communication. Training and awareness campaigns will promote trust and respect for hybrid working, with managers modelling inclusive behaviour. Regular assessments will be conducted to evaluate the hybrid working model's effectiveness. So the policy has been screened out for equality. A hybrid working arrangement has had a positive impact on most people, including those with caring responsibilities and those with a disability. This policy provides flexibility and a blended way of working. The policy and guidance will be reviewed regularly and, if necessary, revised in consultation with the trade unions pending any change in legislation or best practice. At this stage, there are no financial implications associated with this report. So it's therefore recommended that members approve the hybrid working policy and guidance as outlined, and we will keep it under review as we do with all our policies. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paula. And well, up until there now, the only indicated speaker was online, so which reflected the benefit of hybrid working policy. Councillor Hart and then Councillor Millie.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Paula, for the update. Yeah, demonstrates hybrid working works quite well. Just a question around travel and subsistence for council officers makes up quite a significant amount of money from council's budgets. With the adoption of hybrid working amongst council staff, can I ask Alfie, has this been factored in when budgeting as part of the rates review process? Thank you.
I believe as part of last year's process, as part of the 3.6 million savings plan, I believe part of that was reducing travel and subsistence budgets. So, and obviously it's an area that will continue to look at as we do with all overhead budgets. So there has been some savings captured in that regard.
Do we have any details of you know, like comparisons from hybrid working and when we were in the office full time? Is there any comparisons that we can see in relation to that, Alfie?
Probably happy to go away and bring back a report on that and get the exact figures, if you're content with that.
Thanks, Alfie.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Money.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thank you to Paula for bringing forward the report anyway. I think everybody, a lot of people in this chamber remember when we first went to WebEx and COVID, and it was a big change for us. But obviously, over the last couple of years, 4 or 5 years being here, it has definitely proved itself effective, especially for members who can't make it to the chamber for whatever reasons they have, whether it be for domestic reasons or work reasons, they can come online. And obviously, I think it's proved itself to be of real benefit to the council internally and externally, and for conducting meetings and businesses. And obviously, we've gone through the equality matters and everything else, and the unions are happy. So I'm not sure if Councillor Hart proposed it, but I'm quite happy to propose it anyway, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. I think most people know that I'm one who prefers the person to person, but I accept that, you know, that there are benefits that can be accrued. And in fairness, you know, 60% in-house as opposed to, in some cases I've heard 40% mentioned, 60% is acceptable. And is it, I suppose it's a query question, it might be acceptable to say that in some cases the hybrid model produces a higher productivity. I'm aware of an officer sitting in this chamber today who has replied to emails to me at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And that's above and beyond as far as I'm concerned. So there are advantages in the system that we use. And I'm content with the policy that we have. It's not for me, but you know, if it works for others, certainly let's do it that way. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is there any no further indicated speakers? And of a proposer from Councillor Mooney, to accept the recommendation, seconded by Alderman Hussey. And I think there was widespread relief whenever the legislation was finally updated, to allow us to resume hybrid working. So I'm sensing that there will remain widespread support for hybrid working. I'm going to take that as unanimous. There's no dissenting voices, so, and no further indication. So that's passed unanimously. I'm moving on now to item 9, the line rest status, and I'm going to hand over to Ellen.
Thank you, Chair. This report aims to provide members with information on the potential resource implications associated with the motion passed in November on LINRIS status, i.e. Irish Language Network status. Further to the passing of that motion, officers met with the proposer, and at that meeting was confirmed that the prospective applicant organisation was Cúltaín Ní Cheannaigh, and further to that again, officers met with Siún McElwee, who's the chief executive of that organisation, to establish the exact nature of the support required and the associated resource implications. At this point in time, we're not aware of any other organisation that would be looking to establish the same status, but if that does arise, we'll bring back a further report. In terms of this application then, the discussions with the stakeholders highlighted that the seeking in-kind support, namely the sharing of relevant officer contacts within the council who can provide advice and guidance, provision of access to existing research, documents and mapping information, and the nomination of a relevant council officer to provide representation on the project oversight panel. As the support outline falls broadly within the scope of the Irish languages services currently offered by council, it's deemed that providing access to existing research resources can be accommodated within the service, and that the policy officer for Irish language will facilitate requests for advice and guidance from other officers within the likes of community development, community planning and other teams, and representation on the oversight panel is also consistent with the scope of the languages services team and can be accommodated. There is no expectation from our understanding for council financial support for this community-led initiatives, and consequently the recommendation in front of members today is that members approve the in-kind support to Cúltaín Ní Cheannaigh as detailed in the report. Thank you, members.
Thanks, Ellen. Antoine, Councillor O'Farrell.
Thanks very much for letting me in. Ellen, and Torres, thanks very much for the report. I am happy to support the report and the recommendation on behalf of Sinn Féin. And the importance of the growth of the Irish language in the area is crucial. Cúltaín Ní Cheannaigh have been on the scene for a long time. Their success in promoting the language is second to none. And I think we as a council and our council officers should support this. We're 100% behind it anyway. And I know we can link up with LINRA in Donegal. There's a LINRA going and it's thriving in Donegal, and it'd be brilliant to see the same thing happening here in the Culturland. And Guramila Mayogarashi and Ellen, thank you very much.
Guramai, Antoine. Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Ellen for bringing the paper. I know it was Councillor Eunice who brought this motion a short time ago, and I spoke on it at the council, and it's actually, I'm very happy to see it's made rapid progress. It was only a short while ago this motion came, and I'm glad to see that our council officers have rapidly progressed this to the point now where you can see there's a material benefit that's going to happen for this motion. And obviously it's been very clearly outlined, the three sections where council can help, and I'm very happy to second this here proposal today. Thank you, Chair.
Alderman Hussey.
Chair, on the basis that, there's limited resource implication here, and what we're talking about is support for the bid to pursue status. I don't see an issue with it at all. Happy to support it.
Okay, members, so the recommendation has been proposed by Councillor O'Farrell, seconded by Councillor Mooney, of no further indicated speakers. And I had no dissenting voices, so can I take that as unanimous? As I believe it was, the original motion was, so that's passed unanimously. Members, I'm moving on now to item 10. The membership of organisations and associations. And before I bring Ellen in, can I bring Philip in relation to the potential declarations of interest? Well, I've been advised that there are none. So head back to yourself, Ellen. Apologies.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks members' approval in relation to the continued membership of a number of organisations and associations. And as indicated in the report, the Council is a member or subscribes to a range of organisations that support local government or Council-endorsed activities, and in many cases, elected members take part in activities or play a role in the governance of these bodies. At section 2.2 then, the organisations are listed along with indicative costs for the forthcoming financial year, and those organisations are NILGA, NAC, Friends of the Somme, APSI, and also the Northern Ireland Local Government Partnership on Travel Issues. As noted in the report, the individual organisations submit reports at different times, but we thought it would be useful to give members an overview of the range of organisations and obviously the costs there. And members should also note that if you require further information on the role, etc., of an individual organisation or association, a report can be brought back. I would also note that in some cases, these organisations require a period of notice of memberships to be terminated. The recommendation in front of members is that, subject to your comments, that membership of the organisations or associations identified in the report are maintained for 24-25. I should also say that provision has been made within the normal rates process for these organisations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Any indicated speakers? No. Members, there's a recommendation.
If you need a proposer, I'm happy to propose.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Farrell. Can I take that as unanimous, members? Okay. Member, items 11 to 14 are open for information. I'm taking them as a block. Councillor Donnelly.
Good Chair. So just on this one, item number 14 just regards the media evaluation, and that whilst it does say that some of the issues that's driving the positive reports or social media or whatever that particular case is, and it lists them, it doesn't sort of list what this council comes in for, with the negative ones. And I think I think there's an importance too that we need to know if there's criticism out there, what type of criticism or what it's about. So I was wondering if in future that it could list some of the stuff where this council will come in for particular criticism, just so that we can analyse it and look at it and see what. The only thing, one of the things is that the recent was it says that Halloween was positive. There was some criticism on social media and that, and media print and that regarding some recent options that this council was looking into. Thank you.
Okay, so we can ask officers to incorporate that in the future reports.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if Adele's on the call and wishes to comment further. I'm just not sure. I can't figure. Yeah, Adele, do you want to comment further? I think we can certainly take that on board. I think there's just a wee issue about
No, that's no
what we
problem.
say in
I
terms
can,
of the type of criticism, but Adele, maybe you want to come in there.
we could possibly look at, I suppose it's just, we always kind of look at things from a positive side, and it's definitely, Councillor Donner, we can look at that about putting on additional slides that maybe reflect issues that we, as you say, that will give us a wee bit more of an overview of some of the issues that come up through the media. Now, I'm happy to do that.
Just for clarification, John, I wasn't saying that we repeat or, all the criticism, just saying if we could categorise it, they say there was some criticisms regarding A, B and C that,
Okay, Alderman Hussey.
Item 12, the prompt payment. Can I thank the officer for the report? I note that it's an improving situation from the quarter ending June last year at 82.32%, moving up to 83.26%. And I hope that we continue to see that progression and an increasing number of those invoices being paid within the 30-day timescale. I've said before, this can be a serious item for particularly the small businesses that we interact with. Thank you, Chair.
So, Alderman Cook.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. It's on item 12 as well. And it was just around, obviously, the 17 or 18% that is paying outside of the 30 days. I was just wondering, what kind of reasons would that be? If anyone would have any clarification.
So one of the first reasons is probably an element of those invoices are disputed and need further follow-up and things like that. That'll probably be a small element. I think probably the main element that's reported on the report, you're aware that we're trying to move to a completely electronic system. That's very close to being rolled out. One of the hold-ups has been is that simultaneously we've had to migrate our finance system to the cloud as opposed to the current hardware and servers that we used previously. So that process is now essentially ready to go and following which we would expect that to go up to well above 90%. So that's obviously the targets.
Thanks, Alfie.
Okay, members. I've no further indicated speakers. I have one question myself, and it's in relation to item 13. Members, I think we're all aware that there wasn't a deputation at today's committee, and we had previously been advised that there would be a deputation in relation to Fort George. We anticipated that would be today. It's a site that we're all extremely interested in and keen to receive that presentation. I see that it's been rescheduled for April committee, and just a wee bit of an explanation. Is there any explanation in relation to why that particular deputation has been moved?
I'd received a request from DFC to reschedule, but I just can't quite recall the reason. Karen, do you?
I think through you, Chair, the team are finalising some of their applications to come in for planning, and I think they just felt that they wanted to actually have that moved on significantly so that they could then present that to council, and we felt that would be a useful step. So that was really, I think, why they intended to postpone it very slightly.
Well, thank you, Karen. I suppose if it's been delayed for potentially good news, then that's very much a positive and welcome. So no, thanks for that explanation. Members, can I ask for a proposer and seconder to go into confidential? Councillor Mooney, Councillor McDade.